Jeremy Clarkson once said, "You can't consider yourself a true petrolhead until you've owned an Alfa Romeo." This statement sounds either like a life sentence or an induction ceremony into an exclusive club of masochists. After all, anyone with even a passing interest in machinery knows the reputation. Alphas break. They rust while still in the showroom. Their electronics possess a mind of their own, often an incomprehensible one, and the ergonomics make you wonder if Italian engineers had ever actually encountered a human being. But why is it that when a red Alfa Romeo drives by, we can't help but turn our heads? Why are collectors at auctions ready to pay tens of millions of dollars for 60-year-old models that, by modern standards, offer zero comfort? And most importantly, why do the owners of these machines, standing on the shoulder waiting for a tow truck, still look at their car with love rather than rage? Welcome to the world of Alfa Romeo, a place where cars come to life not just on the screen, but in the heart of every fan of speed and style. Today, we're deconstructing the true Alfa paradox, a story of a brand at war with itself, of how engineers created a gold standard only for accountants and managers to tarnish it, until it took €1 billion and a team of madmen to return to the source. The foundation of fury. The history of Alfa doesn't begin with glamour. It begins with ambitions bordering on insanity. In 1910, ALFA was born in Milan, but the real magic ignited when Nicola Romeo infused it with entrepreneurial spirit, and Enzo Ferrari brought the racing fury. Did you know that Enzo started his journey right here? He managed Alfa Romeo's racing department, and when his own cars beat the Alfas for the first time in 1951, he wept, saying he felt as though he had killed his mother. It wasn't just a flowery phrase. Alfa Romeo was the bedrock upon which all Italian motorsport stood. In the 20s and 30s, the 6C and 8C models were the pinnacle of engineering. The legendary Tazio Nuvolari won the Mille Miglia in an Alfa, famously turning off his headlights at night to sneak up on his rivals unseen. This was the era of pure logic of speed, where engineer Vittorio Jano created masterpieces that today cost as much as small islands. But even then, the paradox was taking root. These cars were so complex and expensive that the company was constantly on the brink of financial collapse. Beauty and speed demanded sacrifices, and usually it was the taxpayers' money, as the state simply couldn't let such a brand vanish. 1962. The aerodynamic cleaver. To understand the engineering breakthrough that forged the brand's DNA, we must travel back to 1962. Imagine the family sedans of that era. Utilitarian boxes, heavy cast-iron engines with side valves, and leaf spring rear suspensions. Their job was to get a family from point A to point B. Period. Then, at the Monza circuit, Alfa Romeo unveiled the new Giulia, Type 105. The public's first reaction was pure confusion. Everyone expected a continuation of the elegant, flowing Giulietta, but instead, they got a tall, awkward box with a strange, vertically chopped rear end. It looked like the designers had phoned it in. But the truth was far more profound. This design wasn't dictated by style, but by cold, hard physics. The engineers bet on an aerodynamic paradox known as the calm effect. They understood what others ignored. Smooth, rounded shapes on a short sedan are a trap. Air tries to hug those curves, but breaks away chaotically, creating a vacuum behind the car that literally pulls it back, creating drag. So, they made a counterintuitive move. They cut the tail off sharply. This coda tronca, truncated tail, acted like a blade. It forced the airflow to break away instantly and cleanly, creating a virtual tail of air cushions behind the car. The result? A drag coefficient of 0.34. To put that in perspective, the aerodynamic icon Citroën DS had a 0.38. The Porsche 911 of the same era? Also 0.38. As it turned out, this Italian family sedan sliced through the air better than most contemporary sports cars. The heart of a race car. But aerodynamics was only the beginning. The real miracle was hidden under the hood. Alfa Romeo decided to equip it with technology that competitors only use for Grand Prix racers. They built a 1.6-liter engine where both the block and the head were cast from aluminum alloy. This meant a radical reduction in weight directly over the front wheels, the key to sharp handling. But the crowning jewel was up top. Not one, but two overhead camshafts with hemispherical combustion chambers. This was the twin-cam architecture that Ferrari used to win championships, and Alfa put it in a production sedan. This engine lived for the red line, where a competitor's cast-iron lump would die at 4,500 revolutions per minute. The twin-cam was just starting to breathe, pushing out a then incredible 92 horsepower. When BMW and Mercedes were offering 4-speed gearboxes, Alfa made a 5-speed standard. When 99% of cars had drum brakes, the Giulia got Dunlop disc brakes on all 4 wheels. This package, a lightweight nose, a high-singing heart, a perfect chassis, and powerful brakes, instantly found its calling on the streets. Suddenly, this family sedan was the perfect getaway car. The Italian state police and carabinieri needed a machine that could hunt down criminals in the narrow labyrinths of Rome and Milan. But a conflict arose. The mafia and bank robbers chose their cars by the same criteria. Italy in the 70s became the stage for real-life action movies, where police Giulia battled a criminal Giulia every single day. The era of corporate amnesia. However, every great ascent is followed by a fall. The 1973 oil crisis and political instability in Italy hit hard. The brand began to bleed money. By 1986, Alfa Romeo was bankrupt and was bought by the Fiat Group. To Fiat, Alfa was a problem to be solved through unification. This meant the end of unique rear-wheel drive platforms and bespoke engines. The war of engineering versus budget was settled in favor of the accountants. Thus began the era of corporate amnesia. The first result was the 155 in 1992. It was beautiful and aggressive, but built on the platform of a budget Fiat Tipo hatchback. And, of course, it was front-wheel drive. The DNA forged by the Giulia 105, the lightweight nose and rear-wheel drive balance, was discarded for the sake of economy. Then came the 156, Walter de Silva's design triumph. It looked incredible. It had the brilliant twin-spark engines and the legendary Busso V6, named after engineer Giuseppe Busso. This engine is considered one of the best sounding in history, the Milanese Nightingale with its chrome intake runners. But at its core, it was still a modified Fiat front-wheel drive platform. Finally, in 2005, the Alfa 159 arrived. It was meant to be a return to quality, but it shared a platform with General Motors. The result was a sedan weighing 1,600 kilograms, 600 kilograms more than the original Giulia. By the early 2010s, Alfa Romeo had effectively ceased to exist as an engineering brand. It sold 2 hatchbacks, the Mito and Giulietta, which were essentially just more expensive versions of the Fiat Punto and Bravo. The name Giulia was dead. It had sat in the archives for 30 years because the company simply had no car worthy of wearing the badge. Project Giorgio, the Skunk Works gamble. The brand was on the verge of total extinction until the head of Fiat Chrysler, Sergio Marchionne, made one of the riskiest decisions in history. He realized another pretty front-wheel drive sedan based on a Fiat would be the final nail in the coffin. To challenge the German trio, the BMW M3 and Mercedes C63, you couldn't just improve what you had. You had to delete 30 years of engineering compromise. But Marchionne wasn't just fighting the Germans. He was fighting the logic of his own company, which had lived by the principle of saving for decades. He did what is usually done in secret military projects. He created a Skunk Works team. He gathered a squad of the finest engineers, poaching many directly from Ferrari and Maserati. He moved them to a separate building, far away from the accountants. He gave them a budget of over €1 billion and one command: build the best chassis in the world. You have 2 years. This was Project Giorgio. The team began by literally rewriting the forgotten Alfa commandments. Commandment 1, engine in the front, drive at the back, non-negotiable. Commandment 2, perfect 50-50 weight distribution. To achieve this, the engine was pushed as far back behind the front axle as possible. Commandment 3, no wasted weight. Suspension, doors, fenders, and the hood, all aluminum. And the centerpiece, a carbon fiber drive shaft, even in the base model. This is a component from Elite Motorsport. It's ultralight and incredibly strong. It was irrational and expensive, but it was in the spirit of the old Alfa. Commandment 4. The sharpest handling. They created a new front suspension with a semi-virtual steering axis to achieve the fastest steering rack in its class. The green hell and the return to the throne. The Giorgio platform was the chassis, but it needed a heart, and that too came from Ferrari. The team took the V8 from the Ferrari California, literally cut off 2 cylinders, and ended up with a 2.9-liter V6 bi-turbo, producing 510 horsepower. This was a direct assault on German dominance. When the car was first shown in 2015, they finally named it Giulia. But the world was skeptical. Alfa had been promising a comeback for years. Could it really compete with the BMW M3, which had been the benchmark for decades? Alfa needed proof. Not words, but action. They took the Giulia Quadrifoglio to the Nürburgring, the green hell, the place where engineering either triumphs or breaks. The result, 7 minutes and 39 seconds. A new world record for a production four-door sedan. It was faster than many established supercars. The engineers had followed their orders. Project Giorgio had worked. It was a true declaration. Alfa was back, and they had built an engineering benchmark. The beautiful tragedy. But 510 horsepower and records are only half the equation. Alfa Romeo has always understood that engineering must be wrapped in passion. Look at the details. The teledial wheel design, that telephone dial, has become as much a symbol as the Scudetto triangular grille. It's the attention to detail that unites enthusiasts. From JDM icons to the classic mesh of European motorsport, these are the things that speak of passion without words. After the Nürburgring triumph, journalists were ecstatic. They didn't write about screen sizes or the number of cup holders. They wrote about the feeling, the razor-sharp steering, the perfectly balanced chassis, a car that spoke to the driver through their fingertips. Just like the original Giulia 105. The engineering mission was a success, but here the story takes a difficult turn. Engineering won, but sales did not. The Giulia was released into a perfect storm. The world became obsessed with SUVs. The sedan market was dying fast. Secondly, 30 years of lost reputation couldn't be erased overnight. Premium buyers are conservative. They chose the proven German trio over a risky Italian, even if the Italian was faster. So, was Project Giorgio a failure? Commercially, perhaps. But as an engineering project, it was a monumental success. The Giulia became the DNA donor. It was her platform and aluminum technology that became the foundation for the Stelvio, the SUV that drives like a sports car and became the brand commercial savior. Conclusion. The story of the Giulia isn't just a tale about metal. It's a story about the struggle of the soul against the spreadsheet. It is a vivid demonstration that to erase years of compromise, you need a secret team, a massive budget, and unquestionable engineering will. It was a war that Alfa Romeo fought with itself. And the mere fact that the modern Giulia Quadrifoglio exists is a testament that, in that war, for at least a moment, the engineers beat the managers. The story that began in 1962 has come full circle. The Alfa paradox is that you cannot buy one with your head. Your head says, get something reliable, something with a big trunk and a clear service history. But your heart says, live now. In a world where cars are increasingly becoming like soulless household appliances, an Alfa remains a reminder that we are human. We are imperfect, we are emotional, and we love beauty more than logic. Alfa Romeo is a car that makes you turn around in the parking lot. A car whose sound gives you goosebumps. It is the cuore sportivo, the sporting heart, that beats in defiance of every financial report. Life is too short to drive boring cars. And as long as there is at least one red Alfa Romeo on the road, the world of automobiles will never be sold.
Daran erinnert, toller Sound, tolle Motorengeräusche, Emotionen und das war eine